Welcome to another episode of Play Media Replay. This is the last episode in our replay series, both the Sports Geek Replay series and this Play Media Replay series. This was originally a YouTube series, the Play Media series. It is available on the Play Media YouTube channel. Play Media is my gaming and esports agency, helping brands discover the world of video games via gaming, streaming, esports, and everything in between. I've co-founded that with Chris Derrick. This episode, we actually dive into the world of League of Legends esports, something that's obviously where Chris and I met or probably worked more collaboratively over the last couple of years, both being in the esports scene, in the League of Legends scenes. And if you hadn't, you might have heard or you may not have heard. Obviously, I have a team in Gravitas as a League of Legends team. The OPL was the league that we were competing in. But due to some changes in structure from the region here in Australia, Riot Games decided to stop the OPL in its current form, and we've been doing a lot of work behind the scenes to revive that effort. And the good thing about this announcement that happened in mid-December, that we have now got a league that is backed by Guinevere Capital and ESL. And so Chris and I dive in a little bit of our backstory in a bit of the origin of Play Media, but then also some of the exciting opportunities for brands getting into the League of Legends esports, which is the biggest esport here in Australia and arguably the biggest esport in the world globally, with what all you see the big numbers for. So if you want to get a bit of the behind the scenes, pull the curtain back of what it's like in the world of esports, this gives you a bit of an idea of what that it is like, and also some of the plans. I'm really looking forward to executing some of the plans with Gravitas, with the guys at ESL and Guinevere in the coming years. So please enjoy this episode of Play Media Replay. Hello and welcome to Play Media, your gaming growth partner. My name is Sean Callanan. I'm here with my co-founder and co-host, Chris Derrick. Chris, welcome to the show.
Hello, Sean. Hello, everyone.
Really looking forward to this show. So much so, we've done 4 episodes. We've stuck to a format. We've tried to provide a bit of consistency. Not for this show. If you like consistency in format, throw it out. We're going to shake this up. Some big news that have come in, and that's caused us to, rearrange the show a little bit, which is fine. Yep. It's allowed. It's our show. We're allowed to do that. So we're going to kick things off with our Busting Myth segment, which is where we bust a myth in the world of gaming and esports. And today's Busting Myth is all around the theme for today. Chris, isn't League of Legends esports dead in Australia? Isn't that that's what I've read? That's what I've been hearing. What's your take on this myth?
Well, like Mark Twain and Jeff Goldblum, the reports of the death of League of Legends esports in Australia has been grossly exaggerated. Happy to see this announcement today. ESL and Guinevere Capital will be running the Pro League in 2021. New name yet to be released, I believe, but it's great to see. You and I have been working on this behind the scenes for a while. Great to share some of those insights with everyone today.
Yeah, and I think the main thing is around busting this myth, and we'll dive more into the announcement. Is really the chatter, the recommendations, the reports, the news that came around. I guess this statement, this tweet that went out on October 7 around the future of the OPL, what people know League of Legends esports to be, and how that changed. But yeah, we've now moving forward to the what caught my eye, which is spoiler alert, like you've said, ESL Guinevere Capital have come and announced that a League of Legends professional esports will be back in 2021 and beyond, which completely busts that myth. Do you want to give some background of, I guess, those two parties, if those people who don't know who ESL and Guinevere Capital are and why it's important for the region?
Yeah, Guinevere Capital, if we start with them, and their founder, Dave Harris, has been one of the early adopters from a traditional sports or media background getting into esports. He purchased the Direwolves Esports Club. He ran that for a number of years until he bought a slot in a European League of Legends league and recently just sold the Direwolves. So he's got a long history in League of Legends. He's spoken at a lot of different conferences. A lot of our audience will probably know the name or the face. ESL are a global esports tournament and league operator. They've been in Australia for a number of years. Their MD here and across the APAC region is Nick Vanzetti. Again, probably well known to our audience, but across the two of them are really high caliber executives. Really great to see them step up and take control of League of Legends esports in Australia next year moving forward.
And for those who don't know, the picture there of League of Legends playing on Rod Laver Arena, and that was run and organised by ESL. Looking forward to MEO coming back in 2021. But I guess the point that I guess we wanted to raise is sort of going back to that myth busting, but then also giving a bit of backstory to what led up to this announcement and how we've got to where we've got to, which is pretty much a little bit of the background story of how Play Media came together. How far back do you want to go? Do we want to make this a Play Media Origins podcast? But
well, let's spend a couple of minutes on it. I mean, you're rocking the Gravitas T-shirt and looking good too. I haven't got my Order T-shirt on today, but we talked a lot on the previous episodes that you own and run Gravitas, and I used to run Order Esports. So we've been in and around the OPL for actually 3 years, but running those teams in the OPL for 2 years. So we've tried to work really collaboratively with Riot Games, but also with all of the other teams to improve the product for the audience, but also for marketers, improve the media side and the content and what have you. And like I said, we've been doing that for a couple of years, but really earlier this year, you and I started to look at a couple of different models of how it could be run differently.
And I think that's the thing. Like, we were working on team side collaboratively, get everyone pulling the same direction, leveraging on our experience that we've done in the world of sport and how things are working there. And then, we're always, trying to pitch what the league could be, how it could better access more fans, but then more brands. And so in March, we were working with the Rightos team on what are the different models, how could it be done differently from the current method. And, we identified two major models, either running it themselves or running in a third party. So to a certain degree, it's great that we've got to this point now with this announcement of having ESL and Guinevere on board in cooperation with the teams, because that effectively is like one of the models that we said is the one that works best, is best practice moving forward.
Yeah. ESL have run and organised pretty much every single major esports event in Australia. So to have them come on board to run this is great. They've got the commercial expertise, they've got the content and the broadcast and the production expertise. They were things that Riot didn't necessarily have all of in-house themselves. So to have a partnership like this between Guinevere and ESL come in and bring that, I think it's really great. So
that's what we're going to do for this episode. We're going to dive a little bit more into the world of League of Legends. It's quite surprising that we have done 4 episodes and we actually haven't done the Explain the Game segment on one of the biggest PC games in the world, that is League of Legends. What's your quick go-to explanation of the game League of Legends?
Yeah, it's a MOBA, or a multi-online battle arena. Like you said, it's PC based. It's 5v5, so 5 players on each team. They play on something called the Summoner's Rift,
as we can see here.
Yeah, and it's
the main thing is the
fantasy based IP. So there's no blood and guts. It's brand safe, family friendly. And this is one of the reasons why it's been incredibly popular for a long time.
And it is one of the games that is one of the early development of esports. That competitive nature, the fact that it has that brand safety element, that fantasy element, has enabled it to be a global phenomenon from a point of view of an esports point of view. The vision we've got running here is from the World Championships that were hosted in China during the middle of a pandemic. They flew the teams in, the quarantine. They were still able to have the game the games run. And yeah, we see there just the Louis Vuitton case that we've discussed that League of Legends Esports has been sort of brought to the scene. So, when you see the big numbers, and we're going to talk some of the numbers around the League of Legends Esports on a world stage, they're quite phenomenal. But also there's the wider piece of League of Legends, the game, and the widening, I guess, ecosystem that you wanted to discuss, Chris.
Yeah, and I think, like you say, from the esports point of view, it's one of the major esports, 13 major leagues around the world, and the two big events that they do, the mid-season invitational or the MSI and the Worlds that we've just looked at there, award-winning production, a lot of great sort of innovative stuff with virtual reality and augmented reality that we haven't seen even in some of traditional sports yet. So really pushing the envelope there and winning awards. They did 2 years ago form their own virtual band, KDA, kills, deaths, and assists, which is a key piece of lingo in the gaming world, and that they've gone on to break that out from being something that they had at the Worlds to a fully independent music act. Essentially, they've released their own EP, they've topped the charts. So really, they've done a great job in expanding the IP out from the game into a sort of a broader universe, a la a Marvel or a Star Wars or something else.
Yeah, and so that's the wider piece, the lore, the canon, if you will, of League of Legends as it keeps growing. And the funny thing is, developed by Riot Games, for 10 years, Riot Games, had the one game. It sort of made the plurality of calling it Riot Games quite unique. But they hit year 10, and then they've said we're going to actually produce other games. So we're starting to see the League of Legends universe expand into other games. But League of Legends, as it is in its PC form, is a large game, and that's where we want to discuss today. I guess move across to the big question around for this episode at least. To dive into LoL Esports. So where do we start? What is this new landscape going to look like?
Yeah, and if you look at the easiest way that I introduce people who haven't learnt about esports yet or trying to understand it is that there are a lot of similarities with traditional sports. There's the overall rights holder, and in this case, that's Riot Games, as you said. But if we take the example on screen of soccer, then it's FIFA who govern the overall game. The game itself, League of Legends, or it could be soccer. There's a league. It was the OPL. It will have a new name next year. We'll have a new logo. All the teams in it are exactly the same teams that were in it last time. So that's really great. We'll talk a little bit more about the benefits of that. And instead of being broadcast on Sky or on Foxtel or on Channel 10 or whatever it is, it's broadcast on Twitch and on YouTube. So a lot of similarities
there is a lot of similarities. And the only thing that we'll have to be doing come next year is to replace the OPL logo with whatever the new logo and the new brand is. And that's the exciting piece in this region. Is it's a lot like when the T20 State League became the Big Bash. What does that look like? How does it change the conversation in the market? And those kind of things. But very similar in some of the assets. And what we normally do in the Explain a Game is go through the Play Media playbook around the different opportunities that brands have in the space. And what we want to do is look at that from a LoL Esports point of view, what we think will be some of the options that are available now, and also some of the innovation that we expect to come in the world of LoL Esports in this region, sort of going forward. So when we get started with the playbook, and I guess it's probably best in this case to sort of just look at the League of Legends scene that we've got right now, and we're sort of broken it down in these 4 sectors: the game itself, everyone playing the game. But then the other parts are the real key bit to make, this announcement today, really critical. Do you want to give us a bit of a rundown of the teams that are involved in the OPL and why it's important that they're all on board for this new LoL Esports League?
Yeah, look, the logos are there on screen. I won't kind of test my memory by naming them all, but pardon me, choking up. It's great to see that all 8 of them are coming back. And each of those teams, they have their own branding, they have their own partnerships, and most importantly, they have their own audiences and their fans. And so to see that those fans are going to be able to come back, continue to watch them compete in this new league is really great for the overall ecosystem as well. You've got the players there. Now, a lot of the players are doing so well here in the Oceanic region and in the Australian League that they're getting picked up overseas. So it's great to see that happen. It's great to see their career paths grow. And it's, I think one of the things that brands can do is get in and early help support these guys, build them up, build their profiles and leverage that as they do tend to head overseas. But there's also a lot of great young talent coming up as well that you can get involved with and help grow as well. And then, of course, importantly from the media side of things, there's the fans, and they're to your first point, they're people playing the game, but they're also people who maybe don't play anymore. They've got no more time. They've gone to uni. They've got a job. They've got to work. Whatever those commitments are, they can't play as much, but they like to watch, or they watch because they want to get better. They want to watch the best, or they watch just because it's plain entertaining and they love the competition side of it. So it's the whole ecosystem, and it's great to see that that's going to continue again next year.
And as putting on my team owner hat from a Gravitas point of view, it's really great to have all the 8 teams, both on board, committed. There's a really strong and diverse background from all the teams, and that's one of the things I think that makes this league unique. We've got people from sports marketing background like myself, agency background, media background, high performance and sports background that are a really strong foundation for what this new league will be. So looking at the playbook from a LoL Esports point of view, one of the things we ask is, can a brand get in the game? What are the opportunities for a brand to get inside a game like League of Legends?
Yeah, I mean, as you can see from some of the footage that we've seen, the Summoner's Rift itself doesn't really lend itself to brands being involved. There are limited opportunities through skins and things like this, but these generally are tied into bigger partnerships, either around the big events or through the esports and sponsorship side of things.
Yeah, so that's one that's definitely, it is available, but it is limited and it's driven through global.
Yeah.
Then from an esports point of view, obviously that is a big yes, because there are partners involved. How do you think brands are going to continue to, currently be involved in an esports point of view? We're seeing some vision here from games from this year, but then also going forward, how do you think we might see some changes for brands being involved in the LoL esports scene here?
Yeah, a lot of what's happened, not just with League of Legends, but Australian esports in general, has been a real sort of heavy focus on the sponsorship side of things, whether that's been at the league level, the tournament level, the team level. And I think that will continue again with this league. And we've seen, McDonald's been the naming right partner for the last 2 years here. I hope that continues next year. It would be great to see. But what I'd also like to see more of is more sort of media assets. The same way that we compared esports to traditional sports earlier, you can get involved with the league or with the team, but you can also get involved with the broadcaster. And that could either be through ESL or it could be through Twitch or YouTube, and just having, a media spend. Buying pre-roll video that reaches that audience is a really simple and easy way that a lot of brands, a lot of media agencies understand. So I hope that media side of things evolves a lot more with this.
Well, that's the thing. I think we will start seeing more integrations that we do see on, 7 AFL or the 9 with the rugby or the cricket or the tennis, whether it be in-studio assets, specific segments, squeeze backs, different wraparounds, those kind of things that integrate into the broadcast, but also integrate into the content that is developed. So a lot of the playbook that you see in traditional sports and traditional sports broadcasting will start being applied.
Yeah, I hope so.
And then the other piece from a media buy point of view is the ads piece, and this is one that's still a developing space. What are the options from an advertising point of view, a pure advertising media buy point of view?
Yeah, look, we see with other games, there's ways to buy ads in the game. We talked in a recent episode about mobile and buying ads in mobile. You can't do it in the same way within League of Legends. You can buy ads within the esports broadcast, like we just touched about. You can get some advertising within the game client itself. But again, similar to the in-game promotion we talked about at the start, this is all tied together through bigger partnerships.
And then from a streaming point of view, what does the streaming scene look like for League of Legends?
Yeah, look, the streaming scene is really robust. It's one of the biggest properties consistently on Twitch, and that happens in a couple of ways. Obviously, there's big spikes around the big events, but there's also a lot of what's called solo queue, or single person playing and practicing on their own being streamed on Twitch. So it's pretty consistent. There are some bigger Australians streamers like Midbeast in that space. He's got not just a good, strong Australian audience, but a global one as well. So again, it's another robust part or way to get involved.
And it is a developing space. The streamer versus a pro player, and some of the issues around. How often and how the opportunities for pro players to stream and what they should look like. We've seen a couple do it here in Australia. We see some of the North American and EU pro players streaming on occasion and getting good audiences. So I think that'll continue to develop. The other one that we discuss, that we always do discuss, is around events. Where do we see the world of events in League of Legends, and what are the opportunities there?
Well, here in Australia, it's tended to be focused around the grand final at the end of the season. The last couple of years, it's been at the Melbourne Esports Open, or the MEO, as you touched on earlier. That's at Rod Laver. Unfortunately, like a lot of other events in 2020, COVID impacted it, but we hope to see it back in 2021. What was the OPL Grand Final is the centerpiece of the Melbourne Esports Open. It's the big grand final on the Saturday night. The TEG, who handle the ticketing and the marketing, Visit Victoria support it. ESL, they're committed to it for another 3 years, so it's great to see that support. I'm really looking forward to the event coming back this year, being bigger and better than ever.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We touched on an earlier episode talking to Tim McGregor from TEG and their partnership with ESL, that it is the crown for esports in Australia, and that's where I think there is a massive opportunity as it continues to grow, becomes the center point of bringing all esports and gaming fans together. I think it will be quite exciting to see this as a product to grow. And as someone, last year we had a booth as far as Gravitas and just the point of meeting fans, shaking hands with fans, having them connect, having players sign autograph, that hero making that is so critical becomes vital. And I think it's a real important part, again, touch wood, or post-COVID or vaccine or COVID normal, whatever we call it. It'll be super important going forward. The last one was around IP, and we touched about a little bit in the in-game, but and what Riot's doing. What are the opportunities for brands to leverage and get to be a part of that Riot ecosystem?
Yeah, you can license the IP. We've generally, again, it's part of broader partnerships. We've seen Coke put the characters on their bottles. We've seen a Korean beer company put the characters on the cans. We've seen other events or promotions, I should say, where you can win a chance to go to the Worlds or things like that. So they do it. This will continue to happen through Riot and not through ESL. There's definitely something that if a brand or an agency is interested in doing and looking at, then we can help them from a play media perspective.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's an opportunity as their ecosystem grows, as their game titles grow, and as people become more familiar with all the champions and the canon and lore that is Riot Games. So as League of Legends ecosystem just continues to grow, there'll be definitely opportunities for brands to get involved. So that's pretty much, I guess our quick take of the LoL Esports scene and where it is going to head in the next couple of years. Really excited to work with the guys at ESL and Guinevere on what it's going to look like. Excited to get players back involved. Excited on what the new broadcast is going to be. So, I used the Big Bash analogy before. Like, the opportunity is now to get back in, to get involved with an exciting new product that's going to be chasing down Australian fans that'd be really exciting. So, it's going to be a watch this space. A lot of work has been done, but a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
We wanted to finish up with some of the play media insights and sort of show some of the numbers, because a lot of the times in the LoL Esports space, it's all about the numbers, and everyone would have heard the numbers. And I want to share a couple of big ones. These are from the Worlds 2020, Chris.
Yeah, and a lot of feedback that I get when the big global numbers are put out there, I totally agree with, and I get, what does this mean for Australia? 23 million AMA, or average minute audience. Well, you're not going to get that around the new league coming out of Australia. It's going to be a lower number, but that doesn't matter. I think what's important to me is the fact that Riot, and not just Riot, but a lot of esports, starting to move in terms of the visibility, the reporting of their audiences and the data around that, in the same way that traditional sports and other forms of broadcast have, so that it makes it a lot easier for media agencies, for brands, for marketers to be able to compare what you're getting when you're sponsoring or when you're getting involved in a league to what you'd be getting if you were getting involved in the footy or the netball, or getting involved in some other form of arts or entertainment as well. So these are big numbers. They're great numbers for Riot Games and League of Legends. Don't get me wrong, but the way that it's reported is what's really great to see for me.
I mean, you would have done the same, showing this, the numbers around 2018 Worlds or 2019 Worlds. It was a completely different number. So they were saying 300 million people were watching, and that was the amount of people that tuned in. Right, so now that the fact that moving away from let's tell them everyone that watched 3 seconds to what's the average minute audience, like the fact that that's starting to be normalized and that's starting to be communicated, completely agree. So that super impressive world numbers, but it's like what the fact that we're recording it in the same way so we can compare apples and apples.
And we did see in 2020 some numbers from the OPL that were on comparison with, I won't name names, but we're on some of the sort of second or third tier sports that you might be seeing from a Foxtel or a KO or something. So, it'll be interesting to see where the numbers come out with the new league, and hopefully ESL and Guinevere reporting them in a similar way. I think, it just makes everything easier for everyone trying to assess and measure the opportunities to get involved.
Yeah, definitely. I think, the buzz around the new league, the marketing of the new league will be one that's a key driver for it. Another stat, because we love throwing out the big stats, one of the ones that was phenomenal from the Worlds that was hosted in Shanghai. They only had 6,000 seats available, but they had 3.2 million people register for those seats. So that shows strong demand in China, where a lot of the really big viewership numbers are, but it does show the appetite for people who want to be at an event. So, I look forward to the days around when MEO has those kind of pre-registrations for tickets and lining up for tickets effectively. But it does show for me, I guess, the opportunity of the data capture piece in the world of esports to start having that conversation with fans. The last thing that I wanted to, and you touched on it earlier, I wanted to touch on it as sort of Play Media Insights, was this one from Newzoo on the opportunity of growing that fan base and who are the fans. And so what Newzoo did in this study was take 3 of the biggest esports, League of Legends, as we've discussed, being one of them, Counter-Strike and Dota 2 being the other really big players, those tier 1 esports, where they compared who plays the game and who is a viewer of the game. And I think, it really does represent like that there is that overlap of people who only play, people who play and view, and people who are only viewers. I think this tells the growth story of where esports as a product will be. How do you go and interpret, I guess, this Venn diagram, Chris?
Yeah, let's put a real world example of it. You grow up playing sports in Australia, or a lot of us do, whether it was, for me, basketball, others footy, cricket, netball, swimming, whatever it is. You get to a certain age and life commitments take over. Maybe the body fails you. you can't do it to the level that you'd like to or that you once could, but you still love the sport and you love to see the professionals do it. You like the competitive side of that, but it's also very entertaining. So you started playing, you move into viewing, and then you're just the viewer at the end. So that kind of life cycle is exactly the same in esports and in video games. And like you say, I think this is going to be a growth driver for the esports scene over time.
I mean, and if you're doing the comparisons, sport has been going for 100 odd years. Esport 10. 10-ish. If you want to go back to the real OGs, but roughly 10 years. League of Legends only been out 11 years. So, what does it look like? What does this graph look like? And this is where I think it'll be interesting. What will this graph look like in 10 years or 15 years' time when, an 18-year-old starts playing a game and stops playing at 24, 25, 26? Like you said, not because they don't want to play it, but because life gets in the way.
Yeah.
But they continue to be viewers.
Yeah.
So I think that viewer side will get bigger and larger and continue to grow because they've got this perpetual new players coming on board, and then they're watching the game. So that's the that's the reason I'm in esports. That's the hope I have for Gravitas. So really exciting, and hopefully this sort of gave you a little bit of, I guess, insight into the scene, the work that's happening behind the scenes. Not everything happens out in the open. Chris, what are the ways people can get in touch with you if they want to talk more League of Legends or anything gaming and esports?
Email me, chris@weareplaymedia.com. I'm Chris Derrick on LinkedIn, and I am Chris Derrick on Twitter. Also, just a shout out before we go from my point of view to all of the other executives, players, staff, content creators, supporters across the overall League of Legends esports community here, because a lot of hard work going on behind the scenes from everybody, and it's really great to see this announcement today. Super excited for it, and it's well deserved for those guys as well. So great work.
Completely. To get all the the OPL teams on board, get all the people behind doing working with people at Riot. Obviously, the guys at Guinevere and ESL that have put their hand up to really push forward. Exciting times, and really can't wait to get my team back on the Rift, and exciting to see what it could be going forward. So all the best for everyone. What we are going to do here is this is going to be the last episode for this year. We will be back. Potentially changing up the lineup, potentially changing up the format. We've done everything, potentially changing the awkward outro that we've been refining over 5 episodes. We'll definitely be back in 2021 to talk more things gaming, esports, and everything in between. You've got our details. weareplaymedia.com is where you can find us, and you can find us in all places on the internet. Until next episode, my name is Sean Callanan.
My name is Chris.
Thank you for listening to this Play Media replay. Remember, these episodes are coming out on the Play Media YouTube channel. You can find that at weareplaymedia.com. As always, if you want to look at the world of video games, gaming, streaming, esports, this is where I'm going to send you to the Play Media work. That's where I'm going to be doing that kind of work. Still be doing everything Sports Geek with clients around digital and activations and the like, but anything in the gaming space will be under the Play Media banner. Go to weareplaymedia.com.